All right, welcome in to another daily editorial here on the KE Report. I'm introducing a new guest, Andrew Thake. He is the Divisional Director of Resourcing Tomorrow, part of Minds and Money. I'm bringing Andrew on to look ahead to the upcoming Resourcing Tomorrow conference happening December 3rd through 5th in London. I'll get a conference overview, and we're going to focus on the type of speakers, a wide range of speakers that Minds and Money bring in to this Resourcing Tomorrow conference, and also the balance between precious metals and some of these resources of tomorrow, such as the critical minerals. Now, Andrew, it is your first time on the show. I'm looking more at these Minds and Money conferences. I'm hoping to attend one early on next year. But for this Resourcing Tomorrow conference in London, let's start off with an overview of this conference, and even more importantly, what sets the Resourcing Tomorrow conference and Minds and Money conferences broadly apart from some of the other resource conferences.
Yeah, well, delighted to be with you, Corey. Resourcing Tomorrow has been in existence for 21 years. We started out in 2003, and probably about for the first sort of like 15 to 20 years, we were a junior mining show. And we were a great show for connecting junior mining companies with investors that were looking to invest into junior mining, exploration plays, whatever commodity they were. So we have gold and precious mining companies coming along to our event. We also have critical minerals mining companies coming along to our event. We also have base metal companies coming along. We increasingly realized in recent years that we still wanted to have junior miners coming along to the event, and still we wanted to have investors coming along to the event. But the market was very much evolving. We were getting a lot more interest in critical minerals. We were getting a lot more interest in how can we attract majors and mid-tiers along to the event as well. And also how can we attract governments and also other players within the value chain that are further downstream, such as midstream players and such as downstream players, such as the OEMs. So a couple of years ago, back in 2022, we branded to Resourcing Tomorrow. And essentially what that means to an attendee, Corey, is you still have all the junior mining investment content. You still have all those junior mining exploration companies that you can meet if you're attending as an investor, and lots of great content around that. But you also go and get presentations from the big majors and mid-tiers, presentations from governments that are directing mining policy, presentations about sustainability, critical minerals, ESG, supply chain issues. So we now like to think that we're a conference that's quite unique in Europe and definitely within the United Kingdom, in that we cover everything that there is to do within mining. And whatever your interest is, there's either content or there's people there at the event for you to meet.
Let's talk about some of the speakers then, because it's a wide range of speakers. I first want to go maybe to the top of the food chain with major miner CEOs. What sort of companies, in terms of the top of the food chain, mining companies, will be there? Which companies will be speaking?
Yeah, so we've got Mark Kudifani, who's the chair of Vale Base Metals. He'll be one of the speakers. We have a welcome return for Mark Bristow, CEO of Barrick, who always very, very entertaining and forthright views on the mining industry. We also welcome back after a couple of years' absence, Ross Beatty, who's, I think is still the CEO of Equinox Gold and also Chairman Emeritus of Pan American Silver. Also have Sean Rooson of Cisco as well. And alongside that, we've also got Bob Wilt, who's the CEO of Marden, but also representation from a lot of the majors and mid-tiers speaking on the program. So Albemarle, Anglo American, BHP, Explore, Eldorado Gold, got a lot of C-suite executives speaking from the majors and mid-tiers.
What about some of the larger metals investors, whether precious metals or other type of resources? Who are some of the larger investors that attendees could expect to hear from?
Yeah, so on our gold panel, we've got a great lineup, including the likes of Frank Gistra, who I'm sure that your listeners have heard from. We've got a great silver panel with the likes of William Middlecoop and also Ned Naylor Leyland from Jupiter Asset Management. On our uranium panel, we've got CQS. So those are sort of some of the investors that might be quite familiar to your. It's also worth sort of stressing as well that we're getting more government investment funds or funds associated with governments attending and speaking at our events. So good example of that would be Brian Manel of Thake. We also have the French investment in Fravia, who are closely associated with the French government, and they'll be speaking and attending as well.
Now, is that more of that resourcing tomorrow or the critical mineral side of things, where a lot of these governments do have funds set aside and even funds designed to invest in critical mineral type companies?
Yeah, so I think it sort of stemmed firstly from a desire that we had a couple of years ago, listening to our audience, to go and get more governments attending and speaking at our events because they are now playing an increasing role in driving critical minerals policy. But they're, of course, also sort of setting up their own critical minerals investment funds. So obviously, in sort of like the US, you've got the DIFC with their fund, but also in Europe, you've got many of these investment funds being set up, and a lot of our mining companies are very interested in meeting up with them. So for us, it's very important to go and get them along, to go and attend, to go and speak, and also to do meetings with miners. I think there's also a wider point here as well, Corey, is that often private investment and private capital can often be a little bit wary about investing in the junior investment sector. But if you've got government investor investing in a particular junior mining company, it makes it more comfortable for a private investor to go and follow.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. But we just need more capital going into the juniors, and the easiest road to that capital is some of this larger money, just allocating a little portion of their funds to juniors. What about OEMs? So original equipment manufacturers, especially when it comes to critical minerals companies. We have seen some automakers, some larger institutions that don't usually dabble in the resource sector. They've come in with investments. They've made it known that they're looking for companies that they can secure some supply of for critical minerals. Any of these companies going to be at the conference?
Yes, so we partner with organizations such as Drive Sustainability in Brussels and also the Responsible Minerals Initiative to go and have their OEMs attend our event. So we have Nissan, Rivian, Volvo Cars, Hyundai attending from the auto OEM side. But we're also working to get other OEMs along as well. So we have Ericsson, the telecoms manufacturer. Their head of sustainability is attending the event. We've also got some energy companies who are also coming along to the event as well, because as I'm sure you're aware, Corey, we're now seeing energy companies taking an increased interest in mining. So we have Ørsted and SSE Energy. They are both attending and speaking at the event. And again, we think that's very important for Resourcing Tomorrow to evolve as an event. One of our strapline for 2024 is breaking out of the echo chamber. And the mining industry sometimes it can be said that it's quite good at talking to the mining industry about the mining industry. And I think that's one of the challenges. It may have struggled to have attracted investors in the past. So we at Resourcing Tomorrow want to bring in new investors. So we want to bring in, government investors. We want to bring in OEM investors. We want to bring in ESG funds who don't typically come along to these mining events. Because if we can get them to come along to Resourcing Tomorrow, it really opens up a world of possibility for the mining company and for the entire value chain.
What have you seen in terms of new investors in the space? We keep hearing that, look, retail is still largely ignoring the sector. Some funds have come in, and look, there's not many short positions out, especially on the precious metals, but new investors. What have you seen on the mines and money front since this company has been around for decades?
Yeah, so the OEMs, as I've highlighted, there has been like one trend, but that's definitely like a long-term trend. Some of the OEMs that I name checked there might be here just to see what the mining industry is like for this year, and they may still be kind of a couple of years away of making actual investments into mining companies. Looking at our list of miners compared with like last year, definitely overall, about one third of the investors who've signed up and registered for this year are new year on year, which is good. Within that, the biggest movement I'm seeing is in these government investment funds. Definitely seeing more private equity players. If we do have sort of like challenges, to be open with you, is maybe we see maybe less equity fund managers or less equity natural resource fund managers than we might have seen 5 years ago. But I think that's more due to the growth of ETFs as an alternative investment vehicle. So if you were to like look at the top 100 gold and natural resource investors, let's say 5 years ago, it might have been that two-thirds of them would have been active fund managers and one-third would have been passive ETFs. If you go and Google and look at the same list now in 2024, unfortunately, it's two-thirds are passive ETF funds and one-third are active fund managers. So what we try to do at Resourcing Tomorrow is recognize that some of the investment sectors are declining, but there are some. Government investors is definitely one which is growing. OEMs is like another. And what can we do to go and grow them? One last investment category I should highlight as well, which is growing, which isn't exactly investing into mining, but investing into clean energy and clean energy technology and mining technology. We're now seeing more technology investors coming along to Resourcing Tomorrow and to our other events globally. So we've got Bill Gates's Breakthrough Ventures. They're one of the speakers and attendees at the event. Orion Mine Finance, who traditionally have been playing in kind of mining private equity, have now launched a mining technology private equity fund. So we've also got them attending and speaking as well. So I guess those are some of the key trends that I'm seeing, Corey.
Okay, interesting. There are some new investors in there. We're just waiting for that retail audience. And look, you are right. A lot of groups, a lot of funds still very much focused on the passive investing angle, which I think does continue to hurt individual equities that need to raise money, especially in this sector. Let's talk about the types of companies that are going to be there. Approximately in total, how many companies will be at Resourcing Tomorrow? And you've gone over kind of the range of companies, but where are the most companies situated? Are they majors or are they down into the juniors?
So we'll have 175 mining companies in a attendance. The majority of those will be juniors, but that's just because there's obviously more junior exploration companies than majors and mid tiers. So our majors and mid tiers will number about 20 to 30, and the remainder 130, 140 or so will be junior and exploration companies. Within that, geographically, they are quite spread out. So it's not just UK based projects, it's not just European based projects, projects in North America, projects in South America, projects in Australia, projects in Africa, projects in the Asia Pacific region. When it comes to commodities, there are certain commodities that are proving more popular at the moment. It will come as no surprise to you, Corey, that we get a lot of gold and silver mining companies who are attending, especially with a gold price being at 2,600 as we're recording this interview. We are also seeing in the critical mineral space more copper miners coming along. We still get a lot of lithium miners signing up, despite the fact that lithium's had a bit of a rocky year in terms of price. And also uranium as well would be the fifth one that I pick out, because we can talk about climate change, the need to decarbonize and the need for the energy transition. But certainly to myself and to a lot of other people, you can't have the energy transition without nuclear, and therefore you need uranium.
Oh, we've heard that argument a bunch of times too. Look, we just need more energy generally, and uranium has also done pretty well, though it's maybe slowed in its momentum, had a bit of a pullback recently. So, Andrew, for people attending this conference, how do they get the most out of it? Is it going to the speakers or is it diving down into the individual companies who they could have one-on-one time with? What do you think?
It partly depends as to, I guess, whether you're an investor, whether you're a mining company, or whether you're somebody else, such as a consultant or a banker or a technology provider. But the one thing that I always say to people who are going along to an event is go and plan your time ahead of schedule. You can turn up and you can jump into sessions and go and bump into people, but a much better way, if I was attending an event or if I was attending Resourcing Tomorrow, is to plan my time ahead of schedule. So for all the attendees, there is a meeting planner. that meeting planner opens up in advance of the event. So the first thing I'd say is go through the meeting planner and go and schedule some meetings with people who would like to meet at the event. So if you're an investor, go and select some meetings with some mining companies you're interested in investing. If you're a mining company, go and reach out to some investors for some one-to-one meetings. Look through the agenda. We have 300 speakers over the 3 days in three theatres of content. So you're not going to have time or have the ability to listen to everything, but maybe mark out what are the top sort of half a dozen sessions that are must see. And definitely make time to come to the event on all three of the days because we have a variety of speakers across the 3 days. We have 2,000 attendees, so there's more than enough to keep yourself occupied for all 3 days of the event. So I'd say blank out your kind of like whole 3 days. But my number one piece of advice is to plan your time in advance of the event in order to get the most out of it.
All right, Andrew. Thank you very much. We'll wrap it up here. I will post a link to the Minds and Money website, more specifically the Resourcing Tomorrow section, so all of you listening can find out more about the conference. Please send me any questions you have for Andrew. I'll get him to address those, and I'll also work a bit more with Minds and Money to get the word out, bring some more guests on the show to highlight what they will be talking about at the conference and any other key features, which again, as Andrew outlined, that meeting software, you can set up meetings with companies that you are interested in. Andrew Thake, Divisional Director, Resourcing Tomorrow at Minds and Money. Andrew, very much appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your time, Corey. It's been an absolute pleasure.